Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. Thank you very, very much for that very engaging speech. Even if it wasn't read, but very engaging. Thank you very much. And I think in taking a cue from the Honorable Minister, please, Dr. Duni, allow me to start with the lady in the middle. You kept referring to... I need to take a cue from the Honorable Minister. So, Madam, Mrs. Catherine Uju Ifejika, she said so much about you. In a few words, you are in a man's world, you're doing what men do. But one thing is clear, you have networked correctly, you have done whatever it's taken to ensure that you are at the top of the house. So please let me ask if just a question or two. But Madam, will be grateful if you could first introduce yourself and then answer the question. So with what the Honorable Minister has said about you, please, what advice do you have for women who are seeking opportunities in the energy sector? What advice do you have for them? In speaking about this, please talk to us about the importance of networking, mentorship in building a career or building a business, because that obviously something got you there. But please tell us that's something that got you to where you are today.
Okay, thank you very much. I be unano pay nepa bill.
It's not working.
Yes, looking now. Okay, thank you very much for the opportunity and for being able to drag me out from the confines of my, business cocoon. My name is Mrs. Uju Catherine Ifejika. I'm the Group CEO of Britannia U Group. I'm a lawyer by profession. I worked for Texaco and Chevron. I was the general counsel for Chevron for Texaco 1991. I was the youngest. I was 31 years then. And 1997, I became the company secretary, public and government affairs manager, the first to hold the 3 positions in one. And by 2001, when Chevron and Texaco merged, my portfolio for public and government affairs covered West Africa, Nigeria, Cameroon, Togo, Benin, Ivory Coast, and Congo, while the company secretary was Nigeria, because it was a PLC. And I held on to that position till 2007, when I told them that I was tired, I needed to go. And everybody thought I was crazy, because within that period, for 7 years, I was not giving any promotion, but I was working. Nobody was able to deliver what I delivered to the company. And within that period, even managing the press, managing the government affairs, the company didn't have any issue. But when I left, same month after I left, it's like everything let loose. So when I put in my paper, they said, look, what is it you want? We want to give you executive director position. And I told them, I said, for countries where you go to around the world, I'm the one that book your appointment. You don't see the minister, you see the president, and the ministers are invited. So I do those these things. So if we get there, if you tell them I'm not an executive director, they will not believe you. So I said, I'm leaving, I don't need the directorship position. Then they came back, my MD came back and said, oh, they're giving me position, I should bring my company, form a company, bring it, and then they will give me a consultancy, 5 years consultancy to handle the government affairs. I told them, I said, no. These are things that you see people, they will just jump at it. I told them, I said, no. First, I needed to have time for my family, okay? And then be able to think of what to do because I saw a lot of opportunities. And because I'm a woman, the things that ordinarily will come to me didn't. But I didn't bother because I'm the only one who can come into the room and harass the men. So if you're a woman, you want to succeed, and you don't have the lever, you better go and then be sleeping in the room. So when I now came out, I joined Britannia U. The Britannia U didn't have anything, they weren't doing anything. 21 years I stayed with them. They gave me 9,062,000, which are naira, not dollar, naira, which I shared out to widows and some people. My husband, I gave him 1 million, I took 1.5. I started Britannia U with 1.5 million, which was $10,000 then. But I'm somebody, if you want to get me excited, tell me that this is not possible. And I'll prove to you that it's possible. Why? Because God said something. He said, I created you in my own image. We go to church, all of you, to mosque, everywhere. That word is very, very deep-rooted. If he created you in his own image, Jesus walked on the sea. He made the blind see, the lame walk. And you, yourself, you're saying, I don't have money. I took that 1.5 million. I went to the bank and I took loan $23 million. I didn't know anything about upstream. I'd never worked in upstream. Texaco was downstream, trading, petrol station, and then a lawyer. So I'm not even in the marketing. But business is in my DNA. So I took that, got a foreign partner because they said that for you to operate as a marginal field operator, you must have a technical partner. We had a technical partner. First, it was Petroleum Inc. of Houston. We didn't know that they were just coming into Nigeria to get blocks because they were going bankrupt. They were into GTL. So they sign on with us. The only thing that they did, the time we were signing, they had 2 million barrels only on the field. And they now came back. That's why when you see, as a woman, most of you, the only thing you do is to paint your face. And then you'll be shaking your waist. No. If you want to do business and be successful, put those ones aside. Because when you get where you are, even if you wear trouser, you wear hijab, they will look for you. But when you begin to paint your face, yeah, they will see you. This face is going to old. And when he olds, the only thing that you leave is a mark. You leave on the sand of time. So when you now look at what we did, they brought me paper to sign. Nobody in my company will sign any document without passing through my table. I'm a lawyer. You're not almost going to 40 years. I will read it. Kachuku, the Minister of Petroleum, handed over to me in Texaco. So when I read it, I saw where they said 70 million barrels. They were going to stock exchange. So I called them. I said, "Look, the money you people wanted to give us." They said, why would you? I said, this meeting is ended. If you want it, you double it. So they said, they went outside. They said, me, I carry my bag. I vamoose. The next day, they called me. They said, Madam, okay, come. Let us sign. We sign. They gave me money. $2 million, this time $4 million. I can't go. The bank I collected money from, I paid them, the people that, because you see, the greatest thing that we have is having partnership. You don't know who your partners are. It must be people you have the same, mindset with. And then you people, then you gel. But most people, you come in, they don't want to, they don't know anything. Once they see, you go collect money, make we share them. So I paid everybody, and Honorable Minister, where did they go? No, you better sit down. No, you kept us. No, you don't pick anything. Come back. Come back. So, when we now started, they had to pay the money. And we went, they gave us coordinates. We went to drill. They didn't bring any money. They were supposed to bring 40%, which is 8 million. We brought 14 million. The money that we brought, they gave us the coordinate, we went and drilled. It was a dry hole. Dry hole, the $23 million went. Now, most people will just look. They will say, look, this I don't know anything. It's law, I know. People were calling me, even people who were on the other side, Madam, let us pay you off. When they finished, I told them, I said, no. I went back to the bank, because the one thing that you must do for you to go into business, build your reputation. And when you say yes, let it be yes. Most people, they will tell you this, you go and check, it's not a... I went to the bank, the GMD then of the bank, I left all my documents, and he went, made all the investigation made all the investigation in the NUPRC and found out that everything I said was correct. Now, when they now give us, they give us additional 11.4 million. My MD then was an eggshell, 30 years. He said, Madam, we drilled the dry hole, we should leave. I said, you can't leave. If you move that rig, I'll fire you that very day. So, we now called people, they did prognosis on what went wrong, and we found out we went on the opposite direction instead of the right. We now went back 5 days, we struck oil. So, pretend are you that they're talking about today, if I didn't, hold my position that I am not moving anywhere, they would have paid me off, which is what a lot of people, they get oil block. Before you know it, they don't give them 2 million, they collect. And then somebody goes in, the oil block is millions of barrels. No. If you want to go into business and know what you're going to do. If you're looking at somebody to help you, be sincere and be open and ready to learn. You understand? It's not about who you are. If you know who you are, then the waka they go. So when we now did that, we struck oil. The next thing we did, they said, look, let us do pipeline. I told them I don't want to do pipeline. If I do pipeline, every community that will pass, we will pay. I went and did FPSO. It was built in Louisiana. When they built it, it was all over that an African woman broke because Texan men, Louisiana people, I'll go to the yard and I'll harass them. This thing, they did it in 7.5 months. Because of Katrina, they would have done it 4.5 months. This is something people do 1 year to 18 months. 7.5, that's the fastest and the quickest any IOC or indigenous company did. I took delivery and we came back. We built our wellhead platform, connected the flow lines, and then within 17 months, we flow our first oil. Now, within that period, because as you're doing business, you must be looking at opportunities. Every issue that I had in the course of is a learning curve, and it's an opportunity. So what I did was that within that time the rig was $350,000. It was Shell rig, $350,000. So within that period we were waiting, we lost 6.8 million. So I asked them, I said, how much is a vessel? And they told me, we got to US. I got a vessel, $3 million. I lost 6.8 million. Okay, for the price of 2. Immediately I came in, one of the IOCs took the vessel and they rented it for 14,000. 2 years, the money was paid. Now, within that same thing, we were doing loading out from Port Harcourt. And I said, no. Every day you pay $1,000. So, like now, where dollar na abobala. If I know waiting dollar, so I went to Warri, got a jetty. Okay, today we have a presidential approval for it. 25 years. That's the biggest jetty owned by individual. Now, while we're going to Chevron were buying from us from 2010 up to 2016. When you take, they'll tell you that, sorry, please answer this. Answer this call. So, they will tell you that, oh, you brought 50% is water, this one. So, when they checked, I lost almost $5 million. So I told them, I said, look, I'm going to get my own export terminal. And I shut down my operation for 8 months. Today, I have an export terminal. Other people have opportunity to come to our terminal. Okay, we have the largest gross tonnage vessel flying Nigerian flag with large units that cost us about $6.8 million before even they made it mandatory. Okay, so when you're looking at it, today, we have everything that we need across the chain. We have the vessel, we have the FPSO, we have FSO, we have the jetty where we'll move from. So now, when you're looking at all this is somebody, when I got in, they said, look, it's not about wearing nice suit, because even if you catch me dead, you must see me with good suit. From when I was in Texaco. So that one, if you want enter my trouble, say make I know wear better suit. So they said it's not about wearing nice suit. This is serious business. We are giving her 2 months to fizzle out. That is 2007. Today, not only am I here, but those ones where they look me, say that they don't fizzle out. Now me make them, they don't pay me. So, as a woman, I am not only the first female owner operator, not in Nigeria, not in West Africa, but around the world. Go and check NASDAQ, not Nigeria, where they go pay to get accredited or somebody put in. No, go, this is NASDAQ. Okay? Go and check 6 most powerful women in the oil and gas around the world. I didn't get there. I didn't even know. Somebody called me and said that. But they know because they follow up on a lot of things. So you asked, I gave you this brief history so that you know who Uju Ifejika is. Now, you talked about mentorship. Mentorship is about passing on your knowledge, your skill, your experiences. Okay? But you don't just throw it around. You must pass it on to somebody who is ready. Okay? And who has the mindset. There are people, you see, every individual is created uniquely. You can be a mechanic, but the mechanic that you are, me, I went and did IT, this, your own, even when they start the car, you will know what is wrong with the car without using any technology. So for you to want to do something, you want somebody to mentor you in oil and gas, you must have the mindset that what you're coming to do, you're coming to the lion's den. Are you ready to chop the lion and chop the monkey the way they did? If you're not ready, then there's no need. You're coming. When you say you run, go, let me go and talk to my mom, my dad. No. I've never gone to my dad or my mom. Incidentally, my dad, they were amongst those that worked with the colonial master. My father was a sub-treasurer. Then they didn't have central bank or bank. They had treasury. My father was the head of treasury. So we lived everywhere. But that didn't make, I never went back to them because my mother would tell you, if you're ready to go out, be ready to fight. So anybody that wants mentorship and you're not bold and fearless, don't come near me. Because I don't want the person who will come back. When they slap him, he say, hey, madam, somebody say shut up to me. Somebody, no, I want the person where if they slap you, you go slap 10 times.
Oh my goodness.
Then you go come tell me, say you slap. Then I go say, well done. Oh yeah, make we go.
I think one of the wonderful things Madam has said is that it's all right for us to say mentor people, but are you ready to be mentored? Are you ready to be mentored? The days of trophy women are gone. Are you ready to be mentored? Do you have the mindset for mentorship? She said so many nuggets that I think we can take away from this. One of focus, one of determination. When she said business is in her DNA, I had to check and say, okay, Madam is from the Southeast, so business has to be in her DNA. But she said a lot of important things. Who are your partners? Do you know them? It's not about just money. It's about knowing what to do. This is a story of focus, determination. She obviously knew where she wanted to be. Every difficulty, every challenge is an opportunity to do something different, to get your own jetty, to get your own vessel, to do this or do that. But let me leave that for the questions that will come. Please, let's give a round of applause, Madam. Thank you very much. I think to balance this, I'm going to go to the youngest person on our panel. I'll go to to Efuntomi Akpeneye. She has spoken of experience from 2007. I'm not going to ask you where you were in 2007, but you are young and you've already chartered a course for yourself, Chief Legal Officer of Owando PLC, not just a small company. You are the Chief Legal Officer. She has given us a wealth of experience from an older person. I want to ask you, what advice would you give to the young women in this here today who are aspiring to pursue their careers, to do the sort of things we've just heard? What would you advise them to do if they want a career within the energy industry? She's covered the value chain. What's your advice? What sort of experiences and lessons? Talk to the young people here. She did say mindset, determination. Let's hear what advice you have to give them.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me? Okay. Thank you very much, and thank you for the opportunity, to inspire. So, as has been said, my name is Tomi Akpeneye. I'm the Chief Legal Officer of Owando. I started my career in Banwan Igodalo, a leading law firm in Nigeria. And, I was there for about 3 years. And then I spent another 4 months in another company before starting at Owando. I started as a legal officer, right at, the entry level. In terms of what I would, how I would advise younger lawyers who want to, venture into the energy industry, the first thing I would really say is that you're first a lawyer before you become an energy lawyer. And your foundation is so key. So my first advice would be start off in a law firm, start off in a good law firm. Being a lawyer, there are rudiments of the legal profession you must learn before you transit into in-house. I mean, legal drafting, advisory, all those basic things that you must learn. I mean, I cringe sometimes when I see, how, some lawyers draft. You must learn the basics before you move in-house. Now, I like acronyms, so I've kind of coined an acronym that I'll use to describe what I would advise, and it's PRAISE. It's PRAISE. And the first one is personal development. It's non-negotiable. You must develop yourself. And the industry is so dynamic. Things change every day. But there's so much information out there. I mean, when I started, there was hardly internet. You had to read big books. But now there's so much on the internet. There are podcasts, there are articles. There's so much you can learn on your own. Don't wait for people or for your organization to train you. You know, I always say that one of the first things that get cut is a training budget. So you have to take responsibility to train yourself. I mean, in Owando, what we do is that we have a platform called Owando Academy, where different employees in diverse areas train others. That's another way to do it. So personal development is so key. You can't get away with that. The second thing I would say is, which is the R, is relationships and partnerships. I think Mrs. Ifejika had mentioned that. It's so key. I mean, there comes a time in your career that it's a given that you have talents and you are intelligent. It's a given. So what really takes you to the next level is your relations, the relationships you build, both with your colleagues, especially as an in-house lawyer like myself. You have to build those relationships because it makes the work easier. The relationships you build with other stakeholders outside of, you know, your immediate environment. So just build those relationships and make sure that you are networking, you are reaching out to other people. The third thing I'll say is acumen, basically your business acumen. And you know, Mrs. Fejika mentioned, you know, words like lacked units and things like that. For lawyers, that might sound like Greek, but to advise your organization, you have to learn the business. I mean, I remember when Owando had the energy services subsidiary where we bought rigs and we were contracting them out. I had to learn, you know, all the terminologies, the blowout preventer, the derrick. I had to learn all that. I'll get the technical people to sit down and say, draw, you know, walk me through how it works from the wellhead to the terminal. You have to learn the business or else you cannot advise. And another thing is that you have to make sure that as a lawyer, you're not just throwing the book at the commercial people. You know, if you do that, you become increasingly irrelevant. You see that you're not being invited to meetings. They will just take decisions and, you know, you're not at the table. So you have to make sure that you're providing solutions that you know, within the legal ambit, but creative solutions that can help achieve corporate objectives. So that's you have to learn the business. You know, you can't negotiate that out. Now I think it's the fourth thing is integrity. You have to have integrity. I'm not going to dwell too much on that. We all know what that means. Now, S is for self-care. Now, we're speaking to younger women, you know, you're probably at the same time as your career is growing, your family is probably going. So there's a lot of pressure on women, you know, young professionals that have families as well. So I would say that you need to take care of yourself. You can't draw water from an empty cistern. Take care of yourself. Make sure that, you know, you are taking care of yourself as well as everything else that needs to be taken care of. And lastly, I think that was the last one. Yeah, lastly is excellence. Excellence in everything you do. I mean, your work must speak for you, you know, for you. And I think I mentioned it, that part of excellence is that your foundation must be right. So if you are starting out your career, please, as much as you can, start off in a law firm and make sure that, you know, you learn the basics. And, you know, when you transit, your work must speak for yourself. You know, you must be excellent. So I think those are the points.
Thank you. At least you've given us something we can't forget. Praise. Personal development, relationship, acumen, integrity, self-care, and excellence. Self-care, you can't draw water out of nothing. But she said one important thing: learn the business from wellhead to terminal. Young people, learn the business. There is no shortcut. You heard it from Madam. So let me come back to Dr. Duni, which is where I wanted to start from, but I had to obey the minister. So, Dr. Duni, you represent a women's organization, and when we're talking about closing the gender gap, we are at the forefront of, doing this, making sure that this happens. So I'd like to zero in on diversity and inclusion in asking you this question. So how can organizations foster diversity and inclusion in the workplace? And, maybe you share what initiative the organization has put forward to make this happen, to promote these values. So please, audience, bear with us. I want all the ladies, we run through the ladies, and then you throw out the questions. So Dr. Duni, thank you.
Hello, okay. Thank you very much, and thank you very much to all the ladies here, wonderful ladies. Thank you very much, our moderator. So I'd like to first and foremost start by saying a big thank you to Brevity Anderson and the Federal Ministry of Petroleum Resources for, at long last, putting this event as a strategic conference session. It's been I won't call it a battle, but it's been something that we've been trying to push for quite a while, like up to 4 or 5 years, because it used to just be a side event. And so we say big thank you, and I'd like everybody to give them a big round of applause, because we know it's going to continue. It's not just going to be the start. We know it's going to continue, and then we see that being the beginning of great things. Now, talking about diversity and inclusion, and using WeOrg as a case study, it's been an interesting journey. We're going to be 6 in May. And I would like to even mention the fact that WeOrg started at an event like this in the US. OTC, and a session called Women in Industry Sharing Experience. So 2017, Hello was there to talk about Bonga, you remember? And, yeah, sorry? Okay, so, and there was also another lady that was also there to talk about almost like what Madam Uju shared with us, how she found oil in a strange land. At least Madam Uju found oil in Nigeria. She found oil in a strange land, and how she used that oil to turn around the destiny, mark that word, destiny of the entire land, the people, the GDP, the economy, and everything. And for me, that was amazing. And so right there and then, of course, you know the way it is when everybody speaks, and then people clocked around you to get a bit of you and everything. And she told us, go back to your countries. Go back to your countries and go to make it happen. If you need me, let's see. Well, I used the style that worked for me, and we became very good friends. I started talking about it. And there and then we called an African women meeting, and we're like, okay, all African women, let's talk. Let's see how we can take this back home, because Africa is in darkness, energy-wise. 70% of African countries, I've gone around a number of African countries, they don't have lights. And my logic to that team that day was the fact that, for instance, my country, Nigeria, we've discovered oil like 50-something years, and we've left the men alone there. I said, it's not good for men to be alone. Everybody laughed. I said, so let's go and help them. Let's get into the business. Let's get to the table. And if they don't give us a space at the table, let's carry our stool and stand on the stool. And then you will even be taller than the table. So everybody laughed. So we had women from South Africa, women from Uganda, different countries, and we started talking, of course, majority from Nigeria, because I am Nigerian. And then we took that decision that we're going to take it back to our country. And that was how we all got battered as an idea in 2017. And then again in 2018, now this particular year, Susan didn't come, I think. Okay, yeah, she still came. Yeah, she still came, but it was more like fireside chats kind of thing and all that. And then we had real time to talk. And then we were like, oh, we just have to take it and make it happen. And that was how we all got parted. Now, how have we fostered diversity and inclusion? When we all started, we were very, very focused as to what we want to achieve. And I knew it wasn't going to be a sprint. So we just have to ensure the foundation is solid. So the very first thing we started was capacity building. So organization might want to look at that. capacity building, and when I looked around Africa, I could barely see any women in energy, oil and gas group or anything. So I started looking offshore. So I met a group in America, and we started talking. I joined them, I became a member, and from there I was like, okay, we want to do this in Africa. We want like an African chapter. You guys have done it. So they've done it for 25 years, and they still have 25% women representation. So I'm like, so we started looking at the numbers, you know. So what we first did was I made a call, and I'm like, anybody, any woman that is interested in the industry and wants us to build gender diversity, please come on board. Let's go for a training. We facilitated the training, got sponsorship by Wells Fargo Bank. Wells Fargo sponsored us, and we were so serious. In fact, I was like, you know, I can be a bit of a teacher. I'm actually a teacher by birth, you know. So I'm like, any Nigerian that is coming here, you must be serious. You get to class early and all that. We sit in front. There were 40 different chambers of commerces and association in that room, sponsored by the US government. And we sat there, and they were teaching us 5 days. And but because they always see that these ladies, they're always in front. They say, wow, we are women in energy, oil and gas from Nigeria. Okay, fine. And they now took us up as a case study. We talked about how we can reach out to the top executive women, the women in the middle class, the women in the grassroots, the girl child, and it was a whole, as in, imagine 40 different chambers and associations then focusing on you by virtue, they used us as a case study, and we designed it. We went back, we had another 3-day retreat, which was our first retreat in 2018, you know, and then we designed how we can implement. And of course, we started making calls. And then because we saw that it was going to be a national roll call, because there's no way you can actually make that happen if you don't involve, if you don't plan for the policy change aspect of things. So we were very, very intentional about government relation, governments linking up with governments and all that. So we we did a lot of research. We will meet 7 days. In fact, I remember during the PIB review, 238 pages. We shared it. Oh yeah, upstream people, page, kiniko, you know, that, downstream, midstream, 7 days we were reviewing. And by the time we were done, we told each group, come up with your points that must go into the PIA. And then they came with their points. Somebody from Shell, somebody from Chevron, somebody from Owando, and all that. And then, alas, we came up with 7-point position which we presented to the government. We presented it to the Senate, we presented it to the House of Rep. And we just didn't go present it. After we finished presenting it, in America we have lobbyists. So there's nothing wrong in following up on what you have presented because you want it to get into policy. So we had senators, we had House of Rep representatives that were following up on all those things. And majority of them were adopted into the PIA. And one major one, thank you. And one major one was we highlighted the fact that if you look at the government parastatals, because if you really want to cause a change in a nation, you must talk from the top, bottom. You know, so we were focused on getting government attention first. So we did a research. As of that time, there was no single woman in DPR, as in top leadership. The same thing with NNPC. The first woman to get on NNPC board is our chairperson, and that was 1991. So I'm talking about 2021, 30 years after, no single woman. Now, which nation or if you're going for a battle and you go with just 50% of your soldier, how will you win now? You go with everything you have, but you strategize, position this one here and all that, left, right, and center. So over the years, over 60 years, Nigeria had been going to war, its oil and gas resources war, with just half of the soldier, half of the people that should go and fight. So it is time. We've left them there alone. Let's help them. Now, we don't preach equality. You know, we have to also mix and match it with culture. But we preach diversity, we preach equity, and we preach inclusion. A bit of my background in the industry. I joined this industry in 1996 as a small girl. So if you're looking for a small girl, I was actually a very small girl then. And I remember my Oga used to call me Omoge Fry Pan. Yeah. whatever that means, but I know it's, she's not here. Oh, is she here? Okay. So she used to call me Omega Fry Pan, and I was just like, okay. And I follow her everywhere and all that as an intern and all that. National Oil and Chemical Marketing Company, which was like a downstream kind of arm of Shell. And then from there, I moved to Unipetrol. From Unipetrol rebranded and became Hoando. I stayed in Hoando for about 12 years thereabouts. Efuntomi is actually my colleague, you know. And then from there, I got tired, you know, which is another area that we need to look at. We've done researches around all these things, middle age, and all that, you know, things that happen to women. I just take a decision. I just got tired. I wanted something different. I went into Wall Street. I started representing some Wall Street organization in facilitating energy deals across Africa. So I was helping them to look for money. But at one point, I just realized that it was like an Herculean task that wasn't getting an end, because we're going around Africa and all that. But really, my discovery is that African nations weren't even prepared to actually close their energy gap. We don't want to do it. We leave it out to other people to come and help us do it. So in Nigeria, for instance, we explore, we produce, and then we just leave it, and then it's shipped to America. We don't want to do midstream. We don't want to do downstream. That's where the real money is. So I started talking to all the CEOs. I remember I went to my then CEO, GCEO's office, and I'm like, Mofe, why aren't you guys putting money in refining? They said, no, it's couple money. Before you wait and get the money, it's going to take a while and all that. I went to 3 years research, and I discovered that Nigeria as a nation had been leaving a lot of money on the floor, on the table. Do you know how much, as at then, a barrel of crude was just about $50 per barrel? By the time we did all the mathematics of all the different, by the way, I have a background in pure and applied mathematics. So mathematics, we are the mother, you know, it's mother of STEM. So if science, technology, we are the mother. By the time we did that analysis, we discovered that if you put paper to pen and calculate how much you get of all the different products from a barrel of crude is worth about $2,500. So what it means is Nigeria sells off a barrel of crude at $50, and then whoever we are selling to, by the time they refine it into rubber, I'm not going to go into the fuels now, by the time they refine it into rubber, petrochemical, bitumen, I worked with a bitumen company at one point. Every single drop of bitumen that is used in this nation is imported.
No, but Dr. Duni, that research is more relevant today than ever.
Thank
so
you.
If you still have it, I would say rehash it, because I'm not sure what we are getting from our crude, but that's a story for another day.
Amazing.
I don't know what we are getting for it, but that's a story for another day. But what you've talked to us about is I don't think we do enough collaboration. If you sat on your own and looked after yourself, the women's organization you spearheaded, and by the way, I discovered there are about 6 or 7 in Lagos, Women's Network. I met them through the American Embassy. These things would not be happening. And sitting here and pushing the likes of NIES, thank you very much for that push, to have a forum like this on a strategic day would not happen. So please let's note the value of collaboration. I think Nigeria, African women, we need to collaborate a bit more. But quite honestly, that research is more relevant today than ever. I think now we are more enlightened. Now people are ready to run forward with issues, and that research remains more relevant. But please let me crave your indulgence to hold it there. I'll run across to Mrs. Adesoa Dozie right at the other end. I think following from what you've said, Adesoa is at the top of the house in terms of her career, being, I think, the vice chair in Exxon, or vice president or vice chair, you'll tell us. But please, you have, if I say you are at the top of your career, I wouldn't be saying the wrong thing. So please talk to us from the diversity and inclusion we've talked about. What steps can companies take to create an inclusive workspace culture, the kind of inclusive culture that allows a woman to be in the position that you're in, one that encourages women to explore diverse career paths within this technical industry of ours, and one that allows them to seize leadership opportunities when they become available. Not leadership opportunities are available and it's in quotes that it's not for women. So please talk to us a bit on that. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, my co-panelists. I really want to start by thanking all of you for your patience and your time this evening. You have all shown a commitment to diversity and inclusion, and on behalf of my co-panelists, we sincerely appreciate it. My name is Adeswa Dozie. I'm the Vice Chairman of ExxonMobil Companies in Nigeria, very much like Mrs. Akpeneye in a law firm, the leading law firm of Ajumogobi and Ukeke. Very shortly thereafter, I had the opportunity to work for Total, and I was with Total for 3.5, almost 4 years, before I went to work for the Coca-Cola company, where I worked for almost a decade doing many things. I left Coca-Cola as the equivalent of General Counsel for Eurasia and Africa. Thereafter, I joined General Electric in Lagos, Nigeria, initially to support the power business, but left General Electric as General Counsel for Africa. I've been with ExxonMobil since 2019. So I have myself had a diverse career. I've worked in different industries. A lot of it has been curiosity, and some of what my co-panelists have spoken about today. But what I really want to talk about, and I think what the question is asking is, from the company side, what can companies do? As the first female to occupy this position, I'm acutely aware of a number of things. First of all, the responsibility and the fact that I'm the first, but I have a responsibility to ensure that I create a pathway for other women, and I'm not the last. But I'm also acutely aware of the barriers, the unique barriers in our industry for women. I think globally, 18% or less than 25% of the workforce is female. In Nigeria, the data is even more stark. I think it's less than 20%. And when you look at leadership positions, I think only about 1% of global CEOs of oil and gas companies are female. And when you look at executive leadership, the data shows us that it's about 17%. And the question is why? Why should companies care? I'm not going to look at this from the equity perspective, but really just bring in the fact that it's actually good for business and good for profitability. There's data by McKinsey that shows that diverse teams are more resilient, they are more productive, and they are more innovative. McKinsey data also shows us that companies that have diverse teams in their top quartile are 25% more likely to have above average profitability than companies in the bottom quartile. So it's good for business. And the question you asked is how? How can companies do this? I think some of what we're doing today, talking about it, but I really want to start with walking the talk and the tone from the top. If you look around the room, and this is a good start. This is a really, really good start, and I celebrate the organizers and Brevity Anderson and everyone. But really, we're in a room of women talking to women. We're a panel full of women talking about an issue for women. And I think that really has to change. We are leaders, and leaders, male and female, have a responsibility not just to endorse diversity, but to champion it. And with that, I'd really like to start by giving a round of applause, not just to the men who showed up today for this conversation, but to two leaders of our industry, Akachukwu Nwokedi and Shane Harris, my CEO, who have braved it. Because I think really that's what is important. We need to walk the talk. Companies also have to look at the reasons why recruitment and retention. Why are there challenges with recruitment and retention? And I think some of the challenges that we face specifically in Nigeria and across the African continent, are unique to us. There are gender issues, but quite frankly, there are also issues regarding age discrimination. We have a unique set of challenges, and it behoves us as leaders to walk the talk and put policies in place to support that. We also have responsibilities to ensure that we are not just championing, but also making sure that we have meaningful career paths for women. And when we see people struggling, we are putting in place structures to support them. Things like the Women in Energy Network and what my other co-panelist was talking about, and certainly what we have in ExxonMobil, like the Women Winning Ladies Network, which is an affinity network that supports and promotes the retention and promotion of women, are critically important because they ensure that women can lead, thrive, and grow within the organization. So we are not where we used to be, but we are not where we should be. And it's not just about individual companies, it's not about ExxonMobil, it's not about NMPC, Britannia U, but each one of us as individuals and as leaders, we have a responsibility to make sure that we are creating workplaces where women can grow, thrive, and be promoted. We've talked about what the responsibility of women is, and it was really insightful listening to Mrs. Ifejika, insightful and inspiring, might I add, listening to not only Mrs. Ifejika's story, but the stories of all the other women. But the point is, the scales are tipped so largely in favor of men that companies have a responsibility and to create and put in place networks and frameworks to support women. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Scales are tipped in favor of men, but you made an encouraging statement. We are not where we used to be. We have the likes of you, we have the likes of Eloho, encouragement on the way, but we are not where we want to be. So I hope that we will be there someday, but well, we'll keep the dialogue going. I've been told that we have maybe just 15, 20 minutes more to go. So I'm afraid we will try and shrink everything in so we can get some questions. But please, Eloho, I'll end up with you to round up in terms of comments. But I'd like to speak to, like Mrs. Nkechi Obi. She has a fantastic story to tell, an entrepreneur to the core. So I'd like to ask you, please, Mrs. Nkechi Obi, as a successful entrepreneur in the energy industry, what challenges have you faced? I know you faced many. I've listened to you before. And what strategies have you employed to overcome them? How have you stayed the course? And each time one sees you with your lovely signature low cut, you're looking nice and fresh. The stress doesn't show on your face. Please share some of the secrets. I don't know if you can wrap it all up in like 5 minutes. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. Let me thank the organizers of the summit. I think this is the 7th edition. And that 7th edition, I think we've been able to, NIES has been able to kind of sponsor this women empowerment here. And this is all about the commitment we have for women, and we believe that network is all part of our success story. For me, it is part of my success story, and that's why we would always continue to be part of this event and to see that women gain as much as possible, we network among ourselves. Yes, the question from the moderator says the challenges. Yes, I have said my story severally. I think, just like she said, she has listened to it. I don't think we have enough time here, and I'm not going to go into it. Most people here are all successful women, that I know. My sister Uju here is a bulldozer. She's a bulldozer. She can bulldoze her way into getting what she wants. But for me, doesn't work for me. You know, and that is her style, and it works very well. In fact, sometimes I have to get to her to say, look, this thing is just not working, especially challenges as a woman. Because the way the men will go after their business, for me, is a problem. Because, yes, it's a problem for me. Because, and one of the things I have always seen is the values we have to look at. And when you have these positive values in you as a woman, because we are mothers, we must always continue to be a mother, and then the business will be there. We must be very aggressive, but the challenges will be there. Like, when you look at the business, especially when you look at the petroleum sector, you see our girls, they are all very brilliant, they come tops. Along the line, you see that the girls start going down. Basically, what's the cause? The culture, the mother, and it's not just about Nigeria anyway. It's just all over. And it's motherhood. But what can we do about it? There's basically nothing. That is God. But that does not mean that we still cannot excel in it. We can do that, and we're doing that. So when it comes to the challenges we have as a woman, I've looked. When it comes to the challenges, yes, you see, especially in my sector, where this business is all dominated by the men. They network in the night. Me, I'm not going to network in the night. There's just nothing, no way, you understand. In the midnight, they are all over the place. I'm not going to do it, but I'm going to look at my own strategy, look at it very well, look at it, study it, and see how I can overcome that. And these are part of what we have used. Because for me, in Techno Oil, it's all about closing gaps. I don't imitate businesses. I look at what is not there, and that's how I started Techno Oil. Techno Oil, my career started from Mobile Oil, that was the name. And there was a gap that was there. The company didn't want to go into it, and I decided that I have to close the gap. It's all about seeing the gap and closing the gap. That's our model. And today, we are in fuels, we are in lubricants, we are in gas. We have the cylinder, manufacturing the cylinder. That was a business that we needed to close up for the government because adoption of cooking gas was going to be very low. So we look at it, what can we do in that area? For me, it's not about profit. It's not all about profit. And that's just it. So all our models are built on closing the gaps. We look at lubricants, we have the blending plants. We look at the fuels depot at that point. The point where Techno Oil started its business, these are where the IOCs were basically, maybe about 25 or 26 years ago. The IOCs were dominating these businesses. That's the so-called Shell, Total, and whatever. There are no indigenous companies. But then we have to start up something and look at what they are not doing. And their businesses at that point were focused on their safe IOCs. So what can we do is to start up something and deal with our own local people. So that's how our business started. So we all look at the basic things. You understand? What do I call it again? I don't know. So these are I don't want to, I think I must have gotten my 5 minutes so that.
No, but a very interesting 5 minutes. If you take nothing else away, our business model is built on closing a gap. Where there is a need, you will have customers. It's pure and simple. Work on your own strategy. Do not look for somebody else's. If somebody else's strategy is networking at night, you find a way of networking during the day to get the same results. So please, Eloho, let me run to you very quickly. You represent a lot of what maybe a lot of young people here can relate to. So I'd just like to ask you a question on how you can share examples of effective allyship in the energy industry, how we can continue to promote technical achievements and stay ahead of industry trends. How can women remain in the core parts of the business? You have a family, you've run a business, you are in a business, but you've stayed the technical course. How can our ladies do that? Please speak to that. Maybe in talking about that, touch on, technical achievements, allyship, the whole, what got you here? I think you will touch on it as you do so. Again, in 5 minutes, please. Thank you. Thank you, Mrs. Nkechubi. That was 5 minutes.
So let me see if I can do less than 5, hopefully.
Yes.
So good evening, everybody, and thank you for spending time with us today. We were worried at the beginning when we all gathered and there was no one in the crowd, and all of a sudden you all showed up. Yeah. So it just tells you how hungry we are to close the gap that we see today. So if I look at myself as an individual, what got me to where I am, I must tell you, is that disruptive capability thinking, disruptive capability mindset that got me to where I am today. I was ready to challenge the status quo. I was ready to embrace change. I was ready to take on challenging tasks. No was not an option. So with that in mind, I stayed focused at work. And part of staying focused, one of the things I quickly learned growing up in an oil company is I needed allies to survive. Imagine you're less than 1 year in a company, working with men that are old enough to be your father, and they have to teach you. I got in as a production engineer, working with technicians. And one of the things they said to me was, we will finish teaching you work and you will become our Oga. And I said to them, at least I will make you proud. Until today, they have that pride. They will tell you, now me teach our work. And I'm happy to say, yes, they taught me work. So I learned to build allyship very early. And that's what we must do to be able to close the gap. We can't close that gap alone. We can't change things alone. We've got to raise men that will go on that journey with us. And it actually starts from us women at home, how we raise our boys. It starts from there. As African women, to be honest, I think our mothers didn't do justice back then. The men, they were treated differently. But that has got to change. For those of us in this room, it has to change. We must treat our sons differently. And then when we treat the boys at home differently, they grow up to be young men, and before you know it, the narrative begins to change. And that's why I love what I see with the women organizations these days. And you said it. We've got to come together. I think we are too silo. We've got this silo mentality. It's about WIOG, it's about Wayne, it's about this, it's about that. We've got to come together to be able to close this gap. Take the men with us to be able to work together as one to close the gap that we see today. So how do we build technical competency? It starts from catching them young. STEM. We've got to go out to the schools to help educate our boys and our girls in school. When we give scholarship, a lot of companies here give scholarship. How many % goes to women, young girls? We've got to be deliberate about it. If we're not deliberate about it, I'm sorry, that funnel will not be full. And if you look at the young entrepreneurs today, look at the startup. See the young girls there, their brains are on fire. How do we encourage more girls in there? We've got to encourage entrepreneurship and startup to be able to embrace technology. For us in Nigeria, we've got to spend money on infrastructure. We don't have lights. How do we expect them to gain the competencies they need? Cost of living in Nigeria is high. The internet, thank God, internet these days is a lot more affordable than it was then. People are able to do a lot more these days, but how else can we further encourage people to embrace technical competency? We've got to work with the government we've got to embrace emerging technology. Today we celebrate our banking sector. What did they do differently? Why can't all sectors do the same? So it comes with being very, very deliberate to close the gap that we see, the technical gap that we see today. And the onus is on you, it's on me, it's on every one of us here to help close that gap. And when we do, Africa will be a better place to live in.
Thank you very much. What a good way to land it, that we must close the gap, and when we do, Africa will be a better place, will be the better for it. You talked about disruptive capability mindset, ready to challenge the status quo. You need allies to survive. Women, let's stop talking to each other. Let's start talking to the men as well. We need to take them on this journey. We need to spend money on infrastructure. Instructive, what did the banking sector do to get it right? We need to learn from them and do the same thing. But one thing I can say is, as Mrs. Dozier said, we are not where we were. We are not where we want to be, but we are on a journey and we are moving in the right direction. And I'd like to encourage the companies here, please encourage STEM, sponsor those girls, be deliberate, go around the value chain, create opportunities for women in contract, in procurement, in projects, whatever needs to be done. The woman who is in the energy sector today has value to bring on the table. There were some statistics, there is value that she brings. She will make a difference. So please give her a chance. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. I'm afraid we can't take any questions from the audience, but you've heard a lot. You've soaked in so much. If we were to take questions, we'll be here for another hour, but we have to leave this place now. So thank you very much. Okay.
It's on.
It's
Yeah?
on, ma'am.
Okay, so we're talking about career building and everything. You must be able to do two things. Work balance. You must understand your first job starts at home. You'll be able to go to the kitchen, you cook, because you're the mirror to your children. If you don't cook, tomorrow your pikin marry, they take some from the husband's house. He say, that man, they wicked. In our own African way, for you to get to a man's heart, now food. So you must be able. I go to kitchen, I cook. I come back at times 10 p.m. and I go to the kitchen. The easiest thing for me to do is cook. But I'm the best cook. Now, the second thing, my sister here, the wife of Renoil, she will bear me witness because he don't chop my bitter leaf. Even my sister here, he don't book her own. But you will be able to do it. Your children will learn from you. We, the women, we are talking of men not giving us time. We are running a race. We want to be faster than the men. There's one thing that we are losing. Our parents, our mothers taught us. That is where we are today. We've lost it. We are not teaching our children. So all of us need to go back to basis. So after this meeting, you know, our conscience is a badger. You know where you have not done well. You go back. Today, if you start today, it's still okay. Then another thing is networking. Some people, you come out in a function like this, they collect your card. Oh, Britain, are you? CEO, put them inside your bag. For you to build a network that is enduring, you must keep in touch. You don't wait until 5 years when your police arrest you. Then you call Mrs. Ifejika. I don't know you. So you build that network. That is when, today, I can call anywhere in the world. One, not only network, but communication skill. Being able to appeal to people's conscience. Some will call, you don't know who I am. No. First of all, you ask the person, how are you, and everything. Okay, this is Mrs. Uju Ifejika. I'm calling you because be very, very polite and nice. Whatever your status is, you can be a president. The president is in the 4 walls of your home. A GMD, and this within the 4 walls of your office. And so you can't do anything without good network. That is what translates to partnership. So these are what are, but more importantly, your home, work balance.
Thank you. Mrs. Dozie, you want to make an intervention? Can you do that for me in 1 minute maximum? You wanted to say something?
I just really wanted to say that, or add, that when we talk about energy security in Africa, it goes to gender issues as well. Because women are the backbone of a lot of African societies. And if you have 600 million people around the continent who don't have access to electricity, it means you have a whole bunch of women who are fetching water, doing the different things, and they're not learning, they're not earning, and they're not participating in community decisions. In order to change the narrative, rebalance the gender inequality and the gender stereotypes, it's an imperative that we have energy security, actually, which is the theme of this conference, so that, it's not really the job of women only to cook. Men can cook too. It's not only the job of women to look after children. Men can do that, and we can have real partners as opposed to looking after our children and our husbands, so that we can elevate and rebalance the narrative. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. What a nice way to wrap it up. So, Richmond? Yeah. Okay.
Hold on 1 second. Okay.
This one.
The Honorable Minister of Industry.
You know, say,
the Honorable Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment, Dr. Doris Anite, is currently in Dubai. She was supposed to have spoken on this panel, but I will beg your indulgence to give me 2 minutes. We would listen to her representative, after which I will give you your plaques. You take your picture, you take your seat. Now, once she's done, Professor Gubil has a question for one of you. I will indulge her real quick. But for now, I'd like to invite real quick for 2 minutes, Mrs. Popola Esther Abimbola, Chief Industrial Officer at the Ministry. Please, that way, ma'am. Proceed that way. Yes, ma'am. Please give a round of applause. Thank you. There's a staircase here. This is your staircase. Forgive me. Yes. Please, ma'am, let's see if you can do this in around 20 seconds. Greatly appreciated. Over to you.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Please permit me to stand on the existing protocol. I am Mrs. Popola Esther Abimbola from Federal Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment. I'm here to represent the Honorable Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment, Dr. Doris Anite, who is unavoidably absent. She would have loved to be here at this very special occasion, but asked me to represent her. And I have a speech to present on her behalf. The speech reads thus: the goodwill message by the Honorable Minister, Federal Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment, Dr. Doris Uzoka Anite, at the Nigeria International Energy Summit 2024 Women in Energy Roundtable Experience Sharing Chedu, to hold on 27th February 2004 at this very special venue. It is my special pleasure to be part of this year's Nigeria International Summit 2024, which is titled Women in Energy Roundtable Experience Sharing. I want to thank the organizers of this event for inviting me as great guest of honor and for this interest and commitment to diversity and the inclusion of women in the energy sector. I will also like to extend my warm regards to the distinguished women panelists in anticipation of your participation in the discussion which has already taken place already. Secondly, women participation and leadership in the energy sector is essential for fostering innovation and driving economic growth, as well as furthering social and political progress for all. However, the percentage of women that are in the sector, energy sector, is quite insignificant compared to other sectors like agro-allied, trade, health, education, etc. The gap in the sector is not unconnected with the educational, religious, and cultural biases towards females. This has ultimately affected the number of women in the energy sector. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, government is aware of the cultural and educational biases that has affected women participation and skilled leadership position in favor of men, not just in the energy sector, but mostly in science-based careers. That is why the government has initiated some educational policies to encourage young college girls to enroll in science-related subjects. Among the efforts being made by the government is a 5-year adolescent girls initiative for learning and empowerment. Projects launched by the past administration. Another project that geared towards mainstreaming female gender leadership in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, which is STEM. Project of Nigeria and Tech Women, a US-based program. Objectively, these are steps to promote, not only promoting, to mentor and train young girls to help unlock their potentials and better position them to take on key leadership positions in all aspects of science-based careers and the energy sector. As you know, women are often the primary energy managers in households, and at the ministry, we are working to promote women's participation in the renewable energy industry and attendant value chain in line with United Nations Sustainable Development Goal 7 on affordable and clean energy to ensure women gain economically and structurally from renewable energy. Ladies and gentlemen, promoting gender diversity and inclusion in the energy sector is not only a matter of social justice, but also a strategic imperative. Diverse teams bring different perspectives and experience, which can lead to better decision-making and improve productivity. I also will believe that creating mentorship programs and having role models can help women navigate challenges, build courage and boldness to take on the difficult and challenging world of the energy sector. Thank you, and God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Madam, we'll have plaque for you as well, so if you give us a moment, let's quickly, Dr. Blessed and Akimio, let's present the plaques to our panelists. Let's begin with our moderator, Madam Ayona Fatai-Williams. Thank you very much. Madam, yes, just sit on the chair over there. I'll call you to take one plaque. Yes, thank you very much. Thank you. All right. Thank you very much. Thank you, Dr. Duni Owo. Can we present to Dr. Duni Owo? Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mrs. Catherine Ujui Fechika. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. All right, thank you very much, Mrs. Ifechika. Yeah, they're bringing your own. Thank you very much. And next, Mrs. Nkechubi, thank you very much. Yeah. Thank you very much. Thank you, thank you. Yes, Mrs. Akpeneye, thank you very much. Thank you. All right, thank you very much, Mrs. Luzier. Thank you very much. And then, thank you to Dr. Doris Anite, the minister represented. And then you will come back to the middle, to Engineer Eloho. I'll take family photo and we're done. Engineer Eloho. Professor, ma'am, you have a question for, okay, all right, thank you very much. No, madam, we're taking picture with you as well, so just hold on. We're taking picture with you as well. We're taking picture with you. We have that. Eminent ladies of the energy industry, can you please rise for a family photo? Dr. Enakime, you're going to be there with them for the picture? Yeah, they will take the buses to them and let's take the picture. Can we give them another round of applause? Thank you so very much. We're going to the young professional session. The moderator and the panelists have assured me we're going to leave here at 6. We're going to leave here at 6:10. 6:10. So we're going over to the next and concluding panel. Thank you for your patience so far. We're leaving here at 6:10. Thank you to this panel. Thank you so very much. When they go to their seat, you give them. Photographers, do you have this picture? Thank you very much. Thank you. And there you have it. Give them one more applause as they take their seats. Please allow them to take their seats. Thank you very much. Let me quickly invite our panelists for this concluding session on the young professionals, digital transformation and sustainable energy solutions in the upstream and downstream sector. Photographers, please kindly go to the sides. I need space for my next panelists to come up on these ones to take their seats. Thank you very much. Thank you. Please allow them to take their seats. Journalists, please allow them to take their seats. Please. Panelists, kindly take your seats. Thank you, Dr. Duni. Please take your seats. Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Akpeneye. Thank you so much. Please take your seats. Thank you. Can we allow Dr. Duni take her seat? Please, let them take their seats. Please. Thank you. You've been far too kind. Just cooperate with me. Let's finish this. Thank you very much. Thank you. Let's allow Madam Ifejika take her seat. Thank you. Let me welcome real quick Group Managing Director of West Africa for SLB, Mr. Sobs Ideria. He's on the panel. Please give him a round of applause. Joining him is the Country Manager Technip FMC, Mr. Tayo Akin Kumi. Let's give him a round of applause. Thank you very much. Business Opportunity Manager for SPDC is here, Mrs. Ehimen Agunloye. Let's give them a round of applause, please. Thank you. Sumiki, which is it. Joining them is Deputy Managing Director of Nigeria LNG Limited, Mr. Olakunle Oshobu. Thank you very much. Warm welcome. Joining them is the Managing Director of GIL Automation Limited, Mr. Bolahon Lawa. Where's my usher? I need my hand.